At Thanksgiving dinner, my mother-in-law picked up her fork, looked around the table and said, "Loud enough for everyone to hear. This is nice, but let's be honest. This tastes like something from a grocery store, not something she actually made." A few people laughed, the way people do when they don't want to pick a side. What she didn't know was that the woman who actually wrote that recipe 50 years ago was sitting 3 seats down from her, close enough to hear every single word. My name's Megan. I'm 29. Married to my husband, Tyler. Going on 4 years now. His mom, Carol, she's never been outright mean to me. Not in a way you could really call her out on. It's more like these little comments, dropped real casual, at pretty much every family dinner we've ever had. That Thanksgiving, I'd spent 2 full days on this sweet potato casserole. Not the marshmallow kind. The one with the pecan crumble on top. Real butter, real cream, made completely from scratch. It was my grandmother's recipe, from my mom's side of the family. She passed when I was 19, and honestly, that dish is kind of the one thing I make every single year that makes me feel close to her again. What I didn't mention to anyone that day, not even Tyler, was that my great-aunt Rosalind was coming too. Grandma's younger sister. She's 91 now, lives about 2 hours away, doesn't get out to family stuff much anymore. Tyler's family had actually invited her as a favor to me, since she and Carol had met a few times over the years at other gatherings. I figured she'd just be a quiet, sweet presence at the far end of the table. I had no idea she'd end up being anything more than that. Dinner starts off normal enough. Tyler's whole family's there, his sister, his aunt, a couple cousins, the usual crowd. Food gets passed around, everybody's filling their plates, and I'm feeling pretty good about how the casserole turned out. Best batch I'd made in years, if I'm honest. Then Carol takes a bite, chews it slow, and says, loud enough for the whole table to hear, "This is nice, but let's be honest. This tastes like something from a grocery store, not something she actually made." There's this little laugh that goes around. Not mean exactly, just uncomfortable. Nobody wants to be the one to say, "Hey, that wasn't okay." Tyler glances at me. Doesn't say a word. He never really does when it comes to his mom. I feel my face get hot. That mix of embarrassed and mad where you don't know which one's gonna win. I don't say anything back right away. I just kind of sit there, staring at my plate, feeling smaller than I want to admit. And down at the end of the table, I notice Aunt Rosalind has gone very, very quiet. Now here's the thing Carol had no idea about. That morning, while I was double-checking a measurement in my kitchen, I'd grabbed my grandma's actual recipe card, the original one, out of this little metal tin she used to keep in her cupboard. Handwritten, back in 1974. I'd just stuck it in my bag afterward, meant to put it back, and forgot. So it's sitting right there in my purse at that table, while Carol's insulting a dish. That's basically the only physical thing I still have with my grandmother's actual handwriting on it. I'm still deciding whether to say anything at all. Honestly, still kind of frozen, when Aunt Rosalind speaks up from her end of the table. Her voice isn't loud, but something about it just cuts straight through the noise. "Carol," she says, "can I ask you something?" Carol looks over, still chewing, still pretty pleased with herself. "Of course. Do you know who taught my sister how to make that exact casserole?" Carol blinks. No, I don't think so. "Me," Rosalind says simply. 1974. In her kitchen in Ohio. I was standing right beside her when we figured out the pecan ratio, because the first 3 batches we made were a disaster. She lets that sit for a second. Then she looks directly at me. "Megan, honey, do you still have that little tin box of hers? The recipe cards?" My hands are shaking a little as I reach into my bag. I pull out that yellowed index card. My grandmother's handwriting still perfectly clear after 50 years. And I set it down on the table, slide it over toward Carol without saying a word. Carol picks it up, reads it. I watch her face change, slow, like it's actually sinking in, that this isn't some recipe I found online that morning. This is real. This is old. This is family. "That's her handwriting," Rosalind says quietly. "Store-bought, is that what you said?" The table goes completely silent. Not one person laughs this time. Carol just sits there, holding this little card like it suddenly weighs a lot more than paper should. She sets it down real careful, almost reverent, and says, "I didn't realize." Doesn't apologize outright. That's just not really her way. But something in her voice is different now. Tyler squeezes my hand under the table. Doesn't say anything, but I can tell he feels bad he didn't speak up himself. Back when it actually mattered. Later that night, while we're cleaning up in the kitchen, Carol comes and finds me. Just the 2 of us. She's quiet for a second, kind of stiff, the way she gets when she's uncomfortable. Then she says, "I'd like the recipe sometime, if that's all right with you." I tell her, "Sure, I'll write her out a copy." Things aren't magically perfect between us after that. She still makes little comments sometimes. Old habits run deep. But she hasn't said one word about my cooking since. And every year now she actually asks about that casserole by name. Whether I'm making the real one, is how she puts it. I think about my grandma a lot when I make that dish. And honestly, I think she'd have gotten a real kick out of it. Picturing her handwriting. And her own little sister. Shutting down an entire table like that. Without me having to say a single word in my own defense. If this story felt familiar to you, hit subscribe. We post stories just like this one all the time. And let me know in the comments, has anyone ever doubted something about you that you could actually prove right there on the spot?